6 o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order. Before we get started, Dr. Stiff has requested a minor change in our agenda. So unless I hear anyone opposed, we're going to change by moving item M under 6, under items of information, to the top to A, and combine N and O. Do I have anyone not liking to do that? Okay, then so done. And then I'll turn it over to Dr. Versa for invocation and pledges.
Yes, good evening, board members and senior staff members who are here for our October 20th, 2020 school board meeting. We have a little special treat today. We normally introduce Ms. Hernandez, who leads us in our invocation, followed by the pledges of allegiance. What I'd like to do, we have a recognition here this evening, but we thought it would be very appropriate to ask him, a 2005 graduate of Southwest High School, who is now Major Adam Guzmi, to lead us in our invocation and then lead us in our pledge of allegiances. And so I'll turn it over to Major Guzmi. Great to see you. And if you'll do that for us, we'd be very honored, sir.
Good morning, or excuse me, it's good morning. I'm calling from Okinawa, Japan, and appreciate it, Dr. Versa. So let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for a glorious day in this great world that you have created. We pray for our leaders, especially those that are in the school systems, Lord, that you guide them for the wisdom to teach the follow-on members of society your ways, Lord. Please give them strength and give them courage to continue to do the great works that they are doing. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Yes, sir.
So if you can hang on with us, Adam, I know you're part of our recognitions, and I know it's great to see I see your mom up on the screen as well, Ms. Guzmi. As I said, Adam is a 2005 graduate of Southwest High School, and one thing we'd like to start is really acknowledging our graduates who are in our own backyard and who are worldwide and made connection. Ms. Guzmi reached out to me sometime in July to let me know how Adam was doing and his newest promotion, moving to a major in Japan, and his responsibilities there. And so if it's okay with you, we'd like to move right into recognitions.
Let's do it.
Vice President. And so Ms. Hernandez, do you have our first recognition this evening?
I sure do. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And we are going to start off with our first recognition, which is Major Adam Guzmi. So today we would like to recognize Southwest alumni, United States Marine Corps Major Adam Guzmi. Major Guzmi spent his entire educational career here at Southwest ISD, starting at Bob Hope Elementary, then at McCullough Middle School, and the Southwest High School, where he graduated in 2005. While at Southwest, Major Guzmi was a member of the band and was one of the very few students to receive an award for perfect attendance from kindergarten to 12th grade. Major Guzmi entered the Marine Corps in 2010 through the Platoon Leaders Class Program while attending Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. After graduating with a Bachelor of Arts degree in music performance, he attended the basic school and was assigned as a ground intelligence officer, however, attained a leg injury at training. Major Guzmi has had an outstanding career in the Marines. In May of 2014, First Lieutenant Guzmi graduated from Expeditionary Warfare School non-resident course in Okinawa, Japan. Upon his promotion, Captain Guzmi received orders in November of 2014 to the Expeditionary Warfare School in Quantico, Virginia, to serve as their adjutant. Captain Guzmi was promoted to the rank of Major in August of 2020 and is currently serving as the G1 Operations Officer for 3rd Marine Division. Major Guzmi, the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal as a personal award, and has a Navy Meritorious Unit Commendation Ribbon, the National Defense Service Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, the Korean Defense Service Medal, the Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, and the Navy and Marine Corps Overseas Service Ribbon. Major Guzmi married Captain Kenda Guzmi, United States Air Force, in 2014. They are expecting their first child in March of 2021. Today is also Major Guzmi's birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
From the hallways of Southwest ISD to his latest declaration as a USMC major protecting our country from Japan, he and we are Southwest.
We wanted this opportunity to really recognize, I know him as Adam, I didn't know him as Major when we went through our system, but I know he was really involved in our fine arts program. He was a percussionist all the way from middle school through high school, and I believe he kept that same trajectory as he went to Texas A&M. And Adam's kind of been in and out of some of our lives. I know when he went to Texas A&M, we kind of lost contact for a while, and I happened to attend a ceremony at Texas A&M, a graduation ceremony, and got to observe Adam receive his commission at Texas A&M before he went into the Marine Corps, which was of our lives. And so when Ms. Guzmi and I connected, I couldn't think of a better fine young man who represents the qualities and character of the students that come through Southwest. And him willing to do this. Of course, he's a day ahead of us. He's celebrating his birthday today. We'll celebrate it for him tomorrow when we wake up, because he's a few hours ahead of us. And I understand, according to Mama, that you're fixing to become a first-time daddy as well. So a lot of congratulations, a lot of great things happening in your life, Adam. I'm very proud of you, young man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. And Dr. Versa is being a little modest. He was actually graduating himself when I was getting my commission there at Texas A&M. So a lot of things. And Dr. Versa also failed to mention that him and I have a very long relationship as far as him being the principal at McCullough Middle School, and also following both of us going up to the high school, and him being the principal there and me being a student there. So we've known each other for quite a long time, which has been a big blessing. I also see that Coach Figueroa, I saw that you were on the line as well. I know him as Coach, but I'm not too sure what his position is right now, but I see he's getting up with the administration. That's amazing. So appreciate all the kind words for the birthdays and stuff. I just, again, it started all the way over there, Bob Hope, and that lady right there that's in the camera, she has a lot to do with it as well. It's not just, it takes a village, and my mom's the one that actually, instilled a lot of the principles that I learned and honed in as growing up there at Southwest ISD, and then coming up here to the Marine Corps and stuff. So I really appreciate everything.
Well, we just want you to know, and Mama to know, we're extremely proud of all of our students, and we're extremely proud of the trajectory that you took, decisions you made. And I agree, Mama made it very clear that you had no other option than to become a major in USMC. And so, yeah, she's a big part of your life. We all know that. Congratulations to both of you. And it's really great to see you, Adam.
It's good to see you too, sir. It's good to hear from you too.
Thank you for joining us this morning. I know you have something to run there in Japan, so we'll let you get back to work.
Awesome. Board members, again, appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much. God bless, and I'll keep you all updated on my career path as I get going.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Janice also. Thank you, Janice. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Bye.
Okay, and we're going to continue with our recognitions. And the next recognition that we have up is from Elm Creek Elementary School, and it is Tucker Andrew Fields. So Tucker is currently a first grade student who excels in all academic areas. He is responsible, reliable, and actively participates in class. Tucker has a perfect attendance. In addition, he has perfect grades in all academic areas. Since kindergarten, Tucker has received a 100 on all district benchmarks and assessments. This includes perfect scores on the fall beginning of year assessments. Tucker takes pride in all his work, especially with written assignments, as he has impeccable handwriting. Tucker's future endeavors include attending Texas A&M University, like the rest of his family. He also wants to be a veterinarian, just like his grandfather, Dr. James Gates. Tucker is polite, respectful, and more importantly, is always willing to help others. We are very fortunate to have an outstanding Elm Creek explorer such as Tucker Fields. Next up, we have McNair Middle School, who would like to recognize their student of the month, Tremayne Martin. Tremayne is currently an 8th grade student and our starting quarterback on the McNair football team this year. In addition to playing sports, Tremayne also plays club basketball with Texas Grind and participates in club football with Columbia. He has been participating in these club sports for 5 years and expressed his gratitude to his parents for providing this opportunity for him. He also participates in theater and loves being part of the program. Tremayne is a gifted and talented student and continues to maintain high grades in his honors classes and has scored in the master's range of the majority of the STAR exams. In his spare time, he is a typical teenager that loves to play video games. He is looking forward to attending Southwest High School next year and plans on playing football and basketball. After high school, he wants to attend Miami University in Florida. While in college, he wants to study sports administration to prepare him for a career in the sports industry. He also wants to continue playing football in college, and he is hoping to play well enough to get drafted into the NFL after completing college. Congratulations. Up next, we have Southwest High School, who would like to recognize their student of the month, Brayden Pridgen. Brayden is currently a senior at Southwest High School and participates in multiple activities. Brayden has participated in track every year of high school, placing 3rd in district in the 300-meter hurdles his sophomore year and advancing to area competition. Brayden also participates in the district champion one-act play production this past spring, qualifying for by-district competition. Brayden would have surely gone on to see success in both the track and one-act play arenas this past school year if these events had not been canceled due to COVID. Brayden currently sits in the top 2% ranking of his senior class. He participates in dual credit courses at Southwest High School and is on track to finish high school with over 50 college hours under his belt. Brayden volunteers his time at the beginning of the school year to come in and film a how-to video for students, walking them through the virtual learning process so that students felt comfortable beginning school online. Brayden has been one of our MCs for pep rallies since his sophomore year, prepping up our crowds and leading them through the Spirit Stick competition. This year, Brayden has worked with our spirit groups, continuing his role as MC for our virtual pep rallies. Brayden plans to attend Howard University in Washington, D.C. after high school. Congratulations. And our last recognition is for our Human Resources Department for Human Resources Day. Governor Greg Abbott has proclaimed October 14th, 2020 as Texas Education Human Resources Day, a day set aside to recognize and honor the important contributions made by our school staff who work in the Human Resources Department. Human Resources staff work hard each day to make sure our schools are staffed with high quality employees and that those employees have a positive work environment. Thank you to our Human Resources staff for all they do. And that wraps up our recognitions for tonight.
A little more HR Day. You know, the world has changed a lot with contact tracing and dealing with COVID. And so really appreciate everything that whole staff does to protect the rest of our staff and make sure that our teachers and our staff are in the safest possible buildings that we can offer to them. And our staff does a great job with that as well. I'd also like to point out that today we hosted Ken Spy to celebrate the Student of the Month from Southwest Legacy, Agnes. She's a senior there who's has a phenomenal story and done a great job. That should air next Tuesday on the 10-5 in the Tuesday evening and then Wednesday morning. And we also had an opportunity to celebrate with our teacher, Miss Brenda Trejo, the 10-5 Excel teacher from Southwest ISD, who was in a virtual ceremony this morning that will also air early next week on KINS 5 as well. So a lot of celebrations. Very proud of our graduates, very proud of our pending graduates. They're doing tremendous things. And so we just wanted to kind of bring that to everyone and be able to recognize some of our folks that we got to connect with recently as well. So that completes our recognition. Thank you, Janice, for doing that.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you.
I've been told we have no public comments, nobody signed up.
No, sir.
So we're gonna move right on to the consent agenda. Board members, you've had that before you.
I move that we approve the consent agenda. A second.
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, passes. We'll now go on to items of information. And as discussed earlier, we're moving item M, green light, to the top.
Yes, so this is an opportunity that really has caught a lot of attention and has its legs up underneath it around the Dallas area. We have been able to connect with the folks who are creating this kind of new opportunity for graduates at different high schools. Actually, Southwest ISD had made the connection with the folks in Greenlight to kind of become their pilot. Since that time, with our relationship with P16, the UP organization that we belong to and sit on that board with other surrounding school districts, we're going to be doing this in concert, I believe, with East Central, Northside, and Southwest to offer this opportunity for our students. And Dr. Faye, I believe she has a guest speaker coming on so that we can explain what green light is and what opportunities lie in front of us. And by working collectively with the other districts, that there is a grant opportunity that we're going to go in partnership with us so that we can get this funded through an external means. And so I'd like to turn over to Dr. Faye and she'll introduce our guest.
So thank you for allowing us this opportunity to share some of the great work that we're doing at Southwest ISD. I do have a presentation tonight regarding our work with Greenlight Credentials. I also have a guest that is here tonight with us. He's here virtually. His name is Eric Reeves. Eric is with Greenlight Credentials. He's general counsel and he's also chief data trust officer. He also is the chair of the Dallas ISD Dallas College P-Tech Industry Board. And he's also a former board member of the Region 10 Service Center that serves the greater Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And so he is joining me tonight to discuss at a very high level kind of some of the work that we're doing as a district at Southwest ISD, but how that fits into the greater ecosystem of connecting the students of our greater San Antonio area to colleges and the workforce. And so Eric, are you on and can you hear us?
Yes, I'm on and I can hear you fine, Joanne. Thank you for having me with you today.
Yes, and so first and foremost, I would like to share that Southwest ISD was really at the forefront of this work before anybody else in San Antonio area was at the table. That's a lot to do with Eric and his work in the Dallas area. I had heard about it through a mutual friend. Dr. Verstoff had heard about this at the Region Service Center, and then unknowingly we connected with our principals over the summer. And so during the summer of 2020, which was this past summer, we had the principal, Paul Black, from Southwest High School, the principal from Legacy, Joseph Guidry, and the principal from CASTEM, Reve Schaefer, join us for a presentation with Greenlight Credentials. And they were over the top excited about the work. And so we actually entered into a partnership and a contract with Greenlight Credentials on behalf of the students that are at our current high schools. And so what does all this mean? And we're going to give you kind of a very, very high level, but essentially what it means is that students will have the ability to control their own personal learning records, transcripts, and the ability to send academic credentials to colleges, scholarship providers, and employers. And so I know that all of you have had children in the system. I too have children in the system. And one of the greatest points of frustration is getting your transcripts in a place where they are meaningful to the people that are supposed to be receiving them. As a matter of fact, as we're having our conversation with Greenlight Credentials this past summer, we almost had to drive to Rice University to hand off the transcript because they were getting to de-enroll my daughter, right? And that has nothing to do with our inability to get that done. It has everything to do with the process that's very archaic because there has to be so many exchanges of hands that are on that before it actually gets to the location that it's supposed to get. And so Greenlight Credentials is an opportunity for kids to deliver their own transcripts on time at the click of a button to wherever they want to send it. And so this is really engaging and innovative work, and we're excited to be at the forefront of that. And so our presentation tonight is really about the blockchain challenge, which is something that came after Southwest ISD entered into their agreement with Greenlight, but it's an exciting time regardless. And so what I'm going to do, Eric, is I'm actually going to share with them the video that was sent to us to give our board. It's about a 2.5-minute video that I will share with you. And then I will ask Eric to kind of speak to that to some degree. And I will reference the PowerPoint that is actually in your packet so I could speak a little bit more to that. Do you want to add anything, Eric, before I show the video?
I think you've done a good job setting it up, Joanne. Thank you.
Okay. Oh. Yeah.
A disconnect has long existed between education and employment. Even prior to the pandemic, nearly 4 in 10 recent college graduates were underemployed. Now, as our nation faces mass unemployment, addressing the interoperability between education and employment is more important than ever. The American Council on Education's Blockchain Innovation Challenge seeks bold ideas to reorient the education and employment ecosystem around the individuals they aim to serve. The challenge invites teams to create a vision and design pilot projects that meet 3 themes. Empower all learners by giving them agency over their digital identities, including records of learning. Unlock lifelong learning by better documenting, validating, and sharing skills and competencies no matter where they're learned. Improve economic mobility by enabling learners to access and utilize employment-relevant skills. The Blockchain Innovation Challenge expects to make awards totaling $900,000 to winners. The Blockchain Innovation Challenge expects for teams to have an ecosystem-first design approach that will address at least one of the following characteristics. Building community and consensus by partnering with existing institutions and organizations that seek to help others achieve economic mobility. Interoperability and open design that leverage existing and open standards to ensure ecosystems can scale and be replicated. Data literacy and agency to allow learners to control their data and be able to seamlessly traverse lifelong pathways of learning and work. As an example of an ecosystem-first approach, Dallas College, the University of North Texas at Dallas, and several Dallas area K-12 school districts created a blockchain network to help students transition between schools or between school and the workforce. Blockchain enabled students to have control over their learning records, which made it easier for them to enroll in college or apply for jobs. The ecosystem included K-12 public schools, employers, colleges, food banks, and workforce development and public transportation agencies. Now, we must be more willing than ever to test innovations that can equitably help learners achieve the dreams of opportunity enabled by education. Your creativity and experimentation are essential. The Blockchain Innovation Challenge is now open at www.acenet.edu/BIC, with applications due on October 30th, 2020.
There you go. And so that is a bit of a high level of kind of the work that we're engaged in. And so there is actually a grant that we're partnering with some of our higher ed partners in the greater San Antonio area, along with some of the other school districts in our area. And that grant will be submitted to the American College of Education and the Department of Education. And so through the work that Southwest ISD, in my opinion, I believe really wholeheartedly that our principals really stepped out on a limb because they saw the need for what this could provide for our kids. And so I'm excited to share the work because it wasn't me who decided, it was principals who decided. Principals who know what is happening at the ground floor with our students. And so I'm excited about that. And what does it really mean? And in your packet, in the presentation, basically what it really means in concrete detail is aggregate school, college, and employer records under one account. It makes those records instantaneously shareable, which is awesome, and expands student opportunities by giving colleges, scholarship providers, big thing for us, and employers a means to find talent. So this is not about our students actually just sending it wherever they want, but because of their system that directly aligns to our system, it gives colleges the opportunities to seek our kids and scholarship opportunities to seek our kids based on their demographic data and their performance in school. So that is something that's very unique. I think we all have had children that sit behind a computer searching for scholarship dollars for them to go to school, where this actually kind of flips that and they come looking for our kids. And the same thing for employers. And so that's very, very unique. And in my opinion, the cost is very minimal, but because we get to enter into this kind of MOU with other partners within our San Antonio area, it actually would be reimbursed back to our district. And so Eric, I'm gonna just show them one little clip from being in the news on October 5th. It's actually just the article that was published on Greenlight. But do you want to add anything to the conversation for our Board of Trustees while we have you here?
Right. Well, members of the board and Dr. Bearsuff, the first time I met Dr. Bearsuff was in the, he visited Dallas. He was exploring the T-Tech Early College High School initiative that has been successfully launched here. And I've been a very big part of that, having served as chair of the industry advisory board. We have 83 participating employers from our community participating in this program. But one of the issues that we have, this is, was created about 4 or 5 years ago. The issue that we found was that the administrators at the Dallas College and University of North Texas, Dallas, and Dallas ISD were having a hard time looking at student progression and how they were doing because the systems all had different student information systems. So how could we bind together those records to create a unified record for these students? And that idea, which was really kind of voiced by Dr. Hinojosa, who is the superintendent at Dallas ISD, and Joe May, who is the president of the Dallas College, really gave voice to that. And Greenlight, as an organization, was stood up and created to help solve that problem. So we were trying to help students move from K-12 to college, just make it easier and take the friction out of the system, as Joe May would say. Well, as we started that project, we gained the interest of Educate Texas. I'm sure everybody knows who Educate Texas is, large nonprofit focused on education innovation in our state. And then the Dell Foundation in Austin became interested in it. So our principal funding off the bat was funded by Educate Texas and the Dell Foundation to create this method of instantaneous transmission of student academic records. And so that's how we started this. We're roughly 3 years into this project now. And so we were surprised, like a lot of people were, when the American Council on Education created the video that you just saw. everything that you see in that video is actually working and being done in Dallas County right now by the 3 institutions that was mentioned. And so we had been working with the UP partnership in San Antonio, and they had the idea of creating a similar type of ecosystem in San Antonio, yoking together Alamo College, UTSA, several districts, and we thought that was a great idea. So we've been supporting the UP partnerships ideas here, and we're hoping that if we receive this, if UP receives this grant, that we will start work on a very similar type of program that you see in that video. And I'm sure with, knowing Joanne the way I have known and knowing Dr. Versoff, I feel like once we get our feet on the ground in San Antonio, that y'all will take, these ideas and make them much better than what we have in Dallas right now. So with that, I'll conclude. But if anybody ever wants to call or write or reach out to me, I'm happy to visit with anyone on your team about any of these issues. As Joanne said, I'm the general counsel, so I'm the lawyer, but I also am the chief data trust officer. We take very seriously the obligations and associated with protecting student privacy and their records. So that's an area of the company that I oversee.
Thank you, Eric. Do y'all have any questions?
So we're going to do the application through the UP, which is the new name for what used to be the San Antonio P16 Council. It's a group of business leaders and a group of school districts and higher education where we discuss how to create better, more streamlined trajectories for our students. And this green light fits right into those conversations. I love the idea of moving the friction out of the system because our students need to have access to these records. We need to move it into the 21st century design, and this is a really great way to do it. And I think the higher ed is as excited about the opportunity as I think the public education system is. So thank you, Eric, for your words and being available, and I know he's willing to take the time to talk to us. So we appreciate it.
And so just as closing, I've highlighted the members of our partnership, which would include Alamo Colleges, UP, Texas A&M San Antonio, UTSA, and Trinity, which is pretty much everyone, which is great. And then the districts that will be at the forefront, Southwest ISD is number one because we were out of the gate fast in the summer. But joining us will be East Central, Judson, and SAISD. And so we really think that we're going to be able to lead the way in creating this ecosystem for students in our San Antonio area. And we're excited about that. So thank you very much for allowing me to present. And thank you, Eric, for being part of our presentation tonight.
Is there a cost to us?
Sylvester has a question, and the question is there a cost? The answer is yes. It's very minimal that our high school principals chose to do it out of their local budgets. At both of our comprehensive high schools this year, we are piloting we're doing our grade 11 and grade 12 students. We're hoping to move that along to the 9th, 10th grade levels as soon as we can, just because there are some other options within that program, within that locker room, they call it, which is more of the Texas Bridge, which is actually some readiness classes that kids can take in math and reading to prepare them to get into college. And so that's another component of this, which is a nice feature. And then, so it's about, I don't know the cost per pupil, but CASTEM is actually onboarded all grade levels. Of course, they're a smaller campus, but they are onboarding with 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. And so we're excited about it. We think there's just nowhere to go but up. I think the connection for the principals was really about eliminating our own friction around how fast we can turn around transcripts to universities and scholarship opportunities because those things are done all by hand and by a human being now. And there's just going to be error when that happens. And so we're excited about that. So
let me address the cost a little specifically. What I recall from former presentations, it's about $2 per student on ADA. The good thing about working in concert with the other local ISDs and through the UP organization is that we are collectively applying for a grant that would basically pay the cost, we hope, for the students. We don't know. We're not bringing this for an action item. We're just telling you where we are along our path. And part of that grant would help us build the infrastructure that you saw in the video that Dallas has already done. There's a lot of kind of groundwork that needs to happen, but there's definitely a willingness among the higher ed leaders and public ed leaders and innovative leaders like Eric and his team to kind of create that foundation so that we can do this. But it is minimal, absolutely. But we think the grant, we have a really good shot at this grant because of our collective prowess working together in the interest of students' future, that we think that we're going to be able to bring, when we come with action, it's going to be a very nominal cost, if any cost at all.
okay. So that concludes. Thank you very much, Eric, for being part of this tonight with us.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, construction update.
Yes, sir. Got Thomas Kruger. He's going to deliver some construction updates for everyone.
Can I close this?
Roger, why don't you just move your chair right there?
I can share your screen. Okay, good evening. We'll be presenting the information on a couple of projects that we have ongoing. Starting out with Southwest High School Phase 3, that's the project that has been ongoing since the summer. KenCon General Contractors is the construction manager on that job, along with Pfluger. As you can see on this, the sheet up here, they're saying through pay up 28, pay up 4, we're approximately 28% complete. I feel it's probably a little bit further along than that. It's scattered out and phased through such a long period of time. So everything's going really well. We haven't had any safety issues, haven't had any problems with lagging of the work or anything. KenCon's been doing a very good job working with Coach Black or Mr. Black at the high school to do all the phasing of this, because it's not a real easy phase project. We have to move kids in and out as we take over hallways, similar to what we did at the Phase 2 project. So in a second, you'll see some pictures, but as we go through the Sabre Patriot and the art classrooms on the second floor, they're progressing. They should be doing punch lists before too long. The restroom renovations on the first floor, segment A and B. This is some of these top pictures, just the general classroom up in the second floor area. If you come up the back stairwell where that mural is on the wall, that's there at the bus loop. So as you can see, all those ceilings and everything have been taken down. They're prepping the floor for new floors, new ceilings. Like I said, it's progressing well. You can see there that all the fixtures are in and the finishes are done, except they're just putting in the toilet partitions that we have going in. Those are at the first floor, segment B. And then if we keep scrolling, it's going to be probably hard to see, but there is a phasing plan here where currently we are up on the second floor and what used to be. The colors didn't come through. So if you can see where my cursor is here, they're currently working in this area here with what used to be the old home ec room in those areas. We're knocking that out. And as we go through the year, starting somewhere around spring break, we're going to be taking over all the yellow here on the first floor. And then shortly after that into April and May, we're going to take over that last bottom floor, what used to be the old shops that was renovated in '94. So that'll all be getting its facelift and renovated from there. So there has been some buyout savings and other things that have come back where there's been some money returned. We're still going through that to make sure that the numbers are right, and we'll probably have that to come back. There may be some additional work that didn't make it into the scope that we can possibly do. We just have to see where we're at on other projects as well that are in the bond. So anybody have any questions for Southwest High School Phase 3?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think next time you can give us a before and after picture of that art room?
The art room?
You know, that one that we visited where the things were coming down, it was real dingy.
Oh, yes. No, we can do
I'd
that.
like to see what that looks like.
I'm sure that we have, Billy and Raphael are taking pictures all the time, so I'm sure we have something there, so we can do that. I'll make a note of it to bring that back. Anybody else have any questions?
Maybe bring a few others before and afters.
Before and afters as to where we're at now? Okay. I'll let Fluger know, and they can work with Raphael and Billy and get that for the next meeting. The next project is LPA and FA Nunley. They're doing all of the roof projects and HVAC replacements. So all 11 campuses, elementary-wise, have got their ACs on, installed. The doors are up. There are a few places, like if you see Southwest Elementary, we're waiting on a little bit of cowl wall that goes in those openings that used to be exhaust fans. So that stuff is coming in. We had one problem where we had to make some adjustments. They had to send it back, send the material back to get it remade and brought back. So nothing that keeps the buildings from being used, and the air conditioners are running. They've done the punch list at all 11 campuses on the gym elementary, or the elementary gym AC. Crewell Road Elementary, they've punch listed the new roof that has already been on. All of the units on the roof have been replaced there. There's only a little bit of items left punch list wise, and a few ladders and stuff that need to be installed at Crewell, and then that one will be complete. The Indian Creek Elementary, the roof is complete. They're scheduled to do the punch list, and the contractor will be working on those items as we go through. Elm Creek Elementary, the punch list on the new roof was complete. However, the units did not come in the time that we needed them to, so we have been doing it every week. They've been on Monday night. They replaced six units. So we swap. They bring the crane out. We take 6 off and put 6 on, and we're kind of moving through. I want to say that we've already done that 3 times, so we probably only got about 2 more weeks before those are up and on, and then we'll have those balanced and tested and make sure everything's running properly there. In McAuliffe Middle School, the new roof is done. However, all of the air conditioning or air handler units there, it's on a chiller system, so all of the air handling units are up in the mezzanines at McAuliffe Middle School. So that is going to take, we actually have to take the unit apart, take it up the ladders and the stairs to get it through the little openings, and then reassemble them all up in the unit. So that is planned on, we're going to start as soon as we can, but most of that work will happen during the summer this year. Anybody have any questions on that project? That one's been really scattered out. FA Nunley really jumped out there and took on a lot in the beginning, and they did, I'd say, pretty well on what they've gotten accomplished in this time frame.
Give them how far ahead we are.
Right. Well, yes, and that should be, the project was supposed to last all the way through the summer with multiple jobs, and we were already completed with everything except McAuliffe now going in, leading into Christmas time. So they did a really good job. They were able to get their roofer to man the job properly.
Can you remind me, so after we get all this done, that everything gets, on the books, how many schools are left that we still need to worry about?
As far as
air conditioning?
Air conditioning, the majority of them will have been
Is there any
touched.
left?
Well, the cycle will start over now, where Southwest Elementary was built in 2000, so it's, or 2002. So it's getting to its 20-year. So some of those units may need to start getting replaced as we go, and it'll just be a continuous.
We no longer have any that are in dire need.
Once we get the high school done, the 1984 building, the remainder of what's left in phase 3, then we should be pretty good throughout the district.
And then we're maintaining.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're maintaining. We try and make them average life expectancy on a rooftop units 15 years, and like I said, we do what we can at the maintenance and try and make them last as long as possible. So I think that most of them will run for a while. Every once in a while, you're going to have one that just dies and has to be replaced. So we should be good there for a while. I know as far as the roofs, a lot of roofs we're good for another 15 years on most of them. So. And the Scobie Middle School renovation, Barlicock has started renovating. If you go through the front doors and walk down to the left, all of that hallway has been kind of taken over where the old photo lab and everything was at. That's all been knocked out, making room for the new robotics and STEM areas. But they are taking on as much as they can do, as much as we'll let them. They're very aggressive as well. They're knocking it out very fast. Have not had any issues. We had a little bit of noise issues in the very beginning. I think we requested that to be rectified by Barlicock, and they did what they could to come in early or stay late to do those high noise areas. So that project has really just gotten kicked off, and we're moving forward. But I think so far they've shown that they're a legitimate contractor and they're going to do a good job for us there. We haven't had any issues. We did get all the portables moved. I know that was one of the things we moved the portables from McAuliffe out because at the same time this phase 3, this one we're going to have to take over a section, move people out to the 9 rooms that we have outside and vice versa. So it'll be kind of a mess. They're working well with Mr. Cruz out there. So haven't heard any issues from him. He seems to be very happy with everything that's going on. Does anybody have any questions on Scobie? The other items I have, we are going to be bidding, or Joris will be bidding the natatorium next week on November 5th. They'll be accepting bids. So that's going to be a big day there to see how they come in. But we are there. I say finally, it seems like that one has been a little bit tough to get through all the different items, but because it's a building that you don't normally build and see, and none of us really have the knowledge of what goes into it. It took a lot of research and effort. So Billy and Raphael, I think, have done a really good job kind of overseeing all of the design and making sure that we get it as lean as possible and that it's still a building that we can all be very proud of. So hopefully on November 5th, everything comes in real good. Then the one other item that I believe we'll talk about later, but we are in contact or in negotiation with Bexar County ESD 2 to potentially sell some property to them for them to build a new fire station directly across the street from Scobie and just up the street from Big Country there right at the corner of Bear Springs and Marbach Road. So that's an item that I think we're going to talk about later tonight, but that'll be coming too. Anything else that you wanted me to cover, Brayden?
No, just on the natatorium, because we're accepting bids, we're hoping we'll go through a pricing where we'll sit down and sit with George and everybody, all the partners, with Marvin Monk and go through pricing to make sure that we're within budget and bring a GMP to the November board meeting. And so if it works out pricing wise, we expect to have you all a GMP to bring to you all the November board meeting. If we need to do more work on pricing and making sure that we stay within budget, we will shoot for December around that. But we'll keep you updated and let you know on what happens and where we're at.
Thank you, John. Okay, now we have the tax report, financial report, Brendan.
On the tax report, we're actually doing better than we did last year at this time. So we're a little over 98% collection, which is really good. That's one thing I've been monitoring. And so right now, as far as I can tell, we haven't been impacted by collection rate from COVID. So that's a good thing. So really well in our collection.
Okay, we'll move right on down to gifts and requests. Everybody got their gifts? I didn't see my name on the list. Enrollment report. Do you want to say anything in our enrollment report? You have anything to say in the enrollment report?
You know, I know like all districts, there are still some students from the system. What I think we are approximately 400 students that were in our system last year or not. I know, speaking to some of my colleagues, neighboring districts, that number is about 1,000. So we're all wondering what students are in Texas, because every meeting we go into, we hear that same thing. I want to commend our visiting teacher department. They've been pretty phenomenal going out and making contacts and trying to locate our students. I know that we are bringing an item to one of our brown bag work sessions in the near future to talk about where we see some mobility in our district and what our actions are moving forward to try to mitigate some of that and become more choice schools in our elementaries. And so that's something we've talked about. We don't have a plan ready yet, but it's being driven by some of the movement and mobility that we see in the district. But I'm going to tell you, compared to what I hear from our neighbors, we're in a very decent spot. But if we lose one student, that's one student too many. And so that's what we know in that area right now. If you would like, we could bring Mr. Ramirez from People Services to do a pretty comprehensive report at that brown bag, so we can show you guys what we're looking at it as well when it comes to student mobility during the pandemic.
Wait, I noticed that there was like 3 elementaries that were down like 70 plus students each, and it was Medio, I want to say it was Indian Creek and one other in that area.
Yeah.
My immediate thought was the Idea School down the street. Is that the case, or do we know? Are we sure? We don't know, or
Yeah, that's not solely the case, but that is part of the mobility.
push the numbers up?
Is choice, and so there's other things that we know that especially in our early childhood education grade levels, that is not compulsory attendance.
Right.
That some of those families are choosing to keep their children home during this time, and we fully respect that and support that. So I think it's kind of layered and it's multiple things. We also notice that we have an influx of students when we get to the middle school grades.
Yes, much better.
They may make a choice and they come back to participate in co and extracurricular activities. And so we have some ideas that we want to present that are more long-term moving forward. And one of those is directly in that area to create a choice so that our parents don't have to go to any particular campus, but they can choose a campus in somewhere in the school district that has a thematic opportunity or a pathway that their children may have interest in, STEM, arts and science, things like that. So we're having those conversations, but to answer your question directly, we're not immune from competing in the charter arena, and the charter schools were not as much in our backyard as they are now. Because if you look at the growth in San Antonio, we're talking about the senior staff today, it's like a reverse plot. So the hand is coming back to the south side and southeast side. We're seeing a lot of growth within the next 5 years. There will be neighborhoods where we did not think there would ever be neighborhoods 10 years ago, but we see the infrastructure going in. We're talking with the city, and so we know that there's going to be a lot more rooftops in the next 5 years in Southwest ISD, which brings competition as well. And so we have to compete in those arenas. And so we have a pretty good master plan that we can compete in that area that we want to present to the board throughout the school year and implement next year.
Thank you. Okay, purchases over 50,000, board and contract for you. November 2020 calendar events. In this item, we're going to have a presentation as item I, ESF.
Yes, the bilingual English is the second language. I do believe we have Delina Garcia. I see her here, and I believe she'll introduce that topic about the item information.
Yes, sir. On a yearly basis, the state is requires every school district to go ahead and present to the boards the annual report. So we have our director of bilingual department to present the annual report for 2019 and 2020. Israel?
Good evening. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Good evening, everyone. School board members, Dr. Versta of district leadership. So I am presenting the program update. It's the 2019-2020 bilingual program evaluation from last year. I know that we've been through this COVID closing of schools and of course canceling of STAR and limited TELPAS, but we are still going to be presenting the information. So according to TEC code 29.05, we are presenting before November 1st. Any district that has a bilingual or ESL program must conduct a program evaluation, and so that will be tonight. So in Governor Abbott conducting or actually declaring the COVID disaster this past year, they did cancel out STAR, the test, and we do have limited TELPAS scores. However, the question was posed, do we still have to provide the program evaluation? The answer was yes. This is a TEA guideline. So as per Texas code 89.265, all school districts are required to conduct a bilingual education in ESL program evaluation by November 1st. Although LEAs will not have STAR data, may not have complete TELPAS data, they can still report on 89.265B and C. So based on the updates, updated English learner reclassification chart, LEAs will be able to determine how many students were reclassified and also provide information on professional development, including any teachers that we require to have an exception or a waiver. So last year, 89.1265B, the number of students who have been exited from the program. This past year in 2019-20, we had 90 students overall. And so actually that number has gone up slightly because part of the reclassification was that we were also allowed to have our students take the last links assessment as a backup if we felt that they were students that could be reclassified. So the number right now is actually 102 because those scores, when they do take that assessment, it does take 5 to 7 days. So since I printed this about a week or so ago, the number went up to 102. So we do have 102 students in our programs that have been reclassified and will be first-year monitors as of this PIM snapshot. On the next one, 89.1265B4, the number of teachers and aides and the frequency and scope of professional development in approaches and strategies that support second language acquisition. In 2018-19, we had about 300 participants in all the professional development and training that we provided strictly or directly from our department. This past year, we were up to 564 participants. This included teachers, principals, administrators, paraprofessionals, parents, counselors, social workers, and other support staff. You could see here, these were the items that we provided professional development or training on: planning, instructional strategies, LPAC framework, teaching for biliteracy and ESL methodologies, second language acquisition, assessments, understanding and implementing the TEKS and ELPs, and the alignment of curriculum to our instructional programs. In addition, 89.1265C, districts that filed in the previous year or will be filing a bilingual exception or an ESL waiver in the current year, the district will have to report out on performance for those teachers. For the last 2 years, we've been fortunate enough to work with our campus administrators and our campuses to make sure that we have enough certified teachers. And so in 2017-18 and 2018-19, we did not file any waivers or exceptions, so we were not obligated to provide the additional support for those teachers that were. However, we did provide plenty of professional development, as you saw on the last slide, for all teachers in general. As of this past year, on 89.1265C, the districts that provided instruction for teachers, you can see here, we've been increasing our numbers of ESL certified teachers. So in 2017, which was the first year when Chapter 89 and TEA made the major changes to require teachers, the ELAR teachers, to be certified to provide an ESL pull-out program. The very first year we had 24 teachers take the test and get certified. Last year we had 12 additional teachers, and this past year we were very fortunate to have 32 teachers, and actually as of last week we had 3 additional teachers that have added to this 32. So we have 35 teachers that are now ESL certified, both at elementary and at secondary. And we have 76 who participated in some type of ESL supplemental training that we provided. We provided 4 opportunities over this past year for them to take the training. And so really just with the program evaluation and the two different components that we needed to provide information on, it was on reclassification, certifications, and waivers. So any questions at this time?
My question is, you say 102 students exited. What was the total number of students?
The total number of students in our programs altogether? I don't have the exact number, but it's in and around the 2,400 range. So we have about 2,400 students in our programs, both at elementary and secondary. And so not all students were able to submit. We were not able to submit all TELPAS scores for all our students because the TELPAS window opened February 24th or 25th, and it went all the way through April 5th. So we began TELPAS testing, and we closed schools after spring break. So not all of the students were able to complete their all 4 domains of TELPAS. So TEA provided the opportunity for districts to complete as many as possible and submit. So we were lucky to have McNair, Southwest High School, and I think more than half of our elementaries complete TELPAS, all 4 domains. And so we were, like I said, we submitted as many as we could due to the school closures. We were not able to submit all.
Right. Thank you.
All righty.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Okay, Southwest ISD online option.
Yes, sir.
Thomas?
Yes, sir. So we're back to November. Usually the district every year at the first 2 weeks in November, we hold our online auction to get rid of the items that we deem unsuitable for or no longer necessary. Includes old furniture, student desks, office furniture, shelving, old technology equipment, computer monitors, CPUs, printers, overhead projectors, and other kitchen equipment and transportation items, in addition to some equipment that we've gotten rid of at facilities and maintenance. So Lemon Auctioneers, again, is the online pros will be conducting the auction. The dates associated with this auction, they will be doing next week, coming on, taking pictures on November 3rd of all the items that we have through the district. And then on Friday, November 6th, the online auction will activate on their webpage. It will run through November 17th, 2020, and we will have a auction preview where people can set up a time to come and meet with us, and we can walk them through any specific item that they want to see. So if they see something on the 6th and want to go look at it, we'll set up time to go take them through and look at it. And if it's something that they're just checking to see if it still works or something, we can do that for them. So everything ends on the 17th. Then on Wednesday, starting Wednesday, November 18th through Friday, November 20th, those will be the days that people will schedule times to come in and remove the items from the different locations. Normally, we end up having to do at least one more day because it never fails somebody buys something from Houston and they can't get here or something. So we try and accommodate them when we can. So board policy CI local allows the superintendent or designee to declare district materials, equipment, supplies to be unnecessary and to dispose of unnecessary materials, equipment, supplies for fair market value. So we will be starting that next week. Do we have any questions?
When was our last auction?
We have it last year was the same time. Last year was we got pushed back a little bit. They didn't end until December 2nd. But this year we tried to move it back up to the first week of November again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Contact tracing plan.
Yes, we have our Director of Health Services with us this evening. Valerie Maldonado, one of the things, Val, I know she had to make alternative plans to be here to explain a very important aspect of how we operate now is to have a really viable, effective, and reliable contact tracing plan. We know that our second phase in of students started this week, and we range from anywhere to 65% capacity in elementary building to just like below 30% at some of our high schools. And so we want to make sure that our board, I know that we do send information out to our board when we do have a contact trace event in our district. And I just want to commend Val. I think she is just a leader, definitely in all health things related in San Antonio. And we're fortunate to have her expertise and her leadership. And we think that we're doing a really great job of mitigating, using our mitigation protocols to make sure we identify, we trace, and that we place those people who may be in close contact out of the system for the agreeable amount of time to make sure that we can provide face-to-face opportunities for our families. So I'd like to turn it over to Val, and she's going to kind of cover our plan and who helps, who supports, and she has a lot better knowledge than I can have to you. So, Val?
Thank you for having me board. So as you know, everything COVID it's kind of turned our world upside down, right? And so an added responsibility in our campuses is to do the contact tracing. And the whole purpose of contact tracing is really to reduce the spread of COVID-19. That's it. That's the whole purpose of the contact tracing. So I wanted to share with you what our workflow looks like. So first and foremost, Dr. Verster really explained pretty good what contact tracing is. It's just identifying, assessing, and managing exposures to a COVID-19 positive case. So our first step in contact tracing is the notification procedure, right? So a Southwest ISD nurse is notified. Sometimes it's the principal, sometimes it's the teacher, but ultimately that information gets to the nurse. The nurse starts the contact tracing process. So we have to reach out to the positive case and identify who that person was around. Who that person was around within 6 feet for 15 minutes or longer. Then we ask questions like, well, when did your symptoms start? Because we look at the 48-hour period prior to symptoms starting and who that person was around during that time as well. Then we also look at, well, was the COVID positive person coughing or sneezing? Were they wearing masks? Things like that, appropriately and consistently too. It has to cover the nose and the mouth at all times. And once we kind of have those questions answered, we also have to think about the bus. We have to think about lunch, extracurricular activities. We have classroom seating charts to help us. We have bus seating charts to help us kind of navigate through that as well. But it could get very, very complicated really fast. So I am grateful that we have a great team of nurses on the campus to really lead this contact tracing effort. Our administrators have been absolutely wonderful with this as well. They have been a part of the team, definitely. So once we've identified all of that information and we've gathered it, we report the positive case to Metropolitan Health District. We let them know, okay, this is information we've gathered, this is our plan. And they help us navigate about through anything else that maybe we haven't thought of, or the more difficult and challenging cases, because it can get pretty complicated, especially with some cases that may have had COVID. And just with the CDC guidelines, we really have to navigate through all of those complex situations. And then the close contacts are notified. We give them instructions on what to do, how to self-quarantine, what that means. We also give them instructions on engaging in remote online learning, because if they're feeling well enough, and which most close contacts are, because they're not necessarily sick, they were an exposure, right? And so they can continue school through a remote online environment. We let them know what to monitor for, and also guide them on testing and contacting their physician as needed. And then we follow up prior to their return to school. So like I said, the nurses are really the ones who lead that effort, but the administrators have certainly been a big part of that. And as we've welcomed back more students, we're also getting our social workers trained to be a part of that team. On the athletic side, we do have the trainers that are trained as well for our secondary campuses. So far, we've been pretty much able to do the contact tracing effort with the nurse, myself, and the admin. But as we welcome back more students, we want to make sure that we have the capacity to do more contact tracing if needed. Hopefully we won't have to, but should the need arise, we have the capacity to really pull in other people and help do the footwork, the leg work with the contact tracing piece and gathering that information. Do you all have any questions for me on contact tracing?
How many hours, or what's the turnaround time once the nurse gets the information? How long does it take for you guys to notify the people that you have identified?
So far, it's been taking about 4 hours.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But again, we've had pretty contained cases. So that's really the most that it's been. once we get to school, start working on gathering the information. It's been about
And do
4
you think
hours.
you'll be able to handle the workload at 50%? Right now, we're at 50%, right?
Yes.
Do you think we still have enough people doing the work to continue that turnaround time?
I think with the social workers being trained, that will definitely help. Absolutely.
And there's one in every campus?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. And if it's a student or even a staff member, at the secondary level, we can pull in the trainers too to help as well. So we do have that capacity to extend a little bit. But really, the nurse is the one who does the interviewing because we know of the positive person. Yes.
But you need someone that can make phone calls.
Exactly.
And start,
And we have a script that we do follow, so that way we can make sure that we are giving all of the information that's necessary, so the exposed person knows what exactly to do, and primarily their parents.
In every positive case, we do the phone calls with guidance from the script of how personalized for that campus, and then we also notify all the families of that campus. And so, been really diligent about that. And, I think we have a really good system down. We've been very transparent, getting the information out. Even sometimes when it's questionable, we still have sent those letters out to parents.
So do you typically send it out that day or is it the next day? I had a parent ask me that, like, okay, so if a child is, if you find that child, when do we get that information? Do they get it same day or the next day?
So,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Dr. Bursa. It depends on when we're notified. Oftentimes we're notified late in the afternoon.
Okay.
And so at that point, it would be the next day.
Correct.
But if we're notified about it in the morning and we're able to complete the contact tracing, which we've been able to do so far, we're able to get it out by the end of the day.
So we can say with confidence, one day is we can tell parents that it's one day and they
24 hours.
Get notified. Okay.
Now, I know sometimes the letter will say the person was on campus this date, so that's just information that we've gathered, not necessarily when we were notified.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Okay.
And in some cases, the student may not even be a student that attended to the school, but participate in a extracurricular event. And so we include those students as well to make sure. Then we notify those parents as well within that campus if that's an event. I think we have one very similar to that here lately. So we also keep an aggregate tally of our students who and adults who have been positive confirmed with the number of folks that we either moved out of the system back to remote because of close contact of some sort. And so we keep that on our website as well next to our 5-point reentry plan called Your Choice Our Commitment. So it's on that website.
I was looking for it. I couldn't find it, but I was on my phone.
Yes, if you go under
I need to get on the computer. It's probably easier.
Yeah, click on For Parent and it says COVID-19 information.
Okay.
Okay,
thank you.
I think Roger's gonna show us that really quickly.
And it gets updated every Monday?
Every Monday. And then we also report to TEA the number of cases and contacts that we've identified every Monday as well for the previous week. Thanks. So this has been updated for this week. It's right there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank
You
you.
want to stay there for our next item?
Sure.
Community labs.
Yes. So Community Labs is a entity that has been beta testing at Somerset ISD. They were looking for a small district to kind of start with. And what this is it's an entity out of San Antonio. Graham Weston's a big part of that. He's one of the kind of co-founders of Community Labs. The idea behind it is that every community should have access to their own lab. And what it basically is that this entity would come into school districts, provide testing on certain dates. We would have to work out the logistics, but they offer free testing. It's not free, but it's underwritten by the county, the city, and philanthropy. Pretty non-invasive test, high reliability, 95% validity on the test. And you get the test results back in about a 12-hour period. It's another kind of layer. We want to make sure that everyone understands this is not a cure-all, but it's another layer of protection and defense to identify maybe some folks may be asymptomatic that you don't know or they don't know. And so we're working out the logistics. I know we have another meeting this week at Texas A&M, but Community Lab is looking to expand now. They feel that they've kind of worked out some of the issues of working with Wind District. And now it looks like they want to work with the Bear South school districts, which is 7 of the school districts on the south side of San Antonio, including East Central and Edgewood. And so we're working those logistics out. It takes a while to kind of get some energy and synergy behind it, but we feel that it's good. We're going to have the opportunity coming forward. When we have more information, we'll bring it. And I don't know if, I know that Val and I, we attended Somerset to see it in action, how the students come in before the school day and the faculty comes in, and what the test is very quick and pretty non-invasive test. So I don't know if you want to speak any more about that. I know we just want to kind of let you guys know we don't have any more information, but we're waiting for our next meeting at Texas A&M with the other neighboring districts to learn when we can start communicating and trying to take off of it.
And the whole process really is under 3 minutes from, registering or giving the consent and making sure that we have all the paperwork to actually putting the test tube into the bag to be sent off to the lab. So it goes really quickly, and it's a very shallow nasal swab. Kids do it on their own, monitored by the lab technicians that are there, or the staff, of course, will do it on their own. They'll put it into a little test tube, put it in the bag, and then it gets sent off, labeled and all of that, of course, as well. So it's really simple. There was a lot of hesitancy at first with Somerset, but they said as kids got familiar with the process, staff got familiar with the process, more people have been opting to go ahead and do it because, again, it's non-invasive and it does give the community a level of comfort knowing that, almost 100%, I don't know the exact percentage, but it's pretty high up there, right, are coming back negative. And it is a PCR test, not the rapid antigen test. A PCR is a gold standard test for COVID.
I want to correct that. It says 70%, but 70% of all students and staff are participating.
Okay.
And so far, the first week they had a asymptomatic result positive. Second week they had an asymptomatic student result positive, and then the third week they had a central office staff member come back positive. So it helps them understand who needs to be out of the system so it doesn't spread. And I think it's going to be initially I think we're going to have really some challenges and obstacles to work through. And it's completely up to the parents where this is not forced. We couldn't force any student or staff member to take it, but we definitely want to influence that. If we want to go far with face-to-face opportunities, adding this layer on top of it is going to really help us create some normalcy for our students in our community.
So it is opt-in.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yes, opt-in, right.
But every how often do they test?
Weekly.
Oh, it's weekly.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean they may not contact it the next day, right?
Right.
But it does increase your odds of identifying.
I especially like that the adults that are in the system are getting tested because the adults are in contact with a lot of kids, right?
Yes.
And I think that it's very helpful.
In my conversation with Dr. Hinojosa in Somerset, what he has noticed the main factor is it has relieved a lot of anxiety that some of the students and especially the teachers have in the classroom. Just that extra layer of knowing that everyone, or just about everyone, has been through an assessment of whether or not they have COVID. So that's part of what we're dealing with. We're seeing anxiety in our campuses. We hear from our principals that the teachers do have a high level, and rightfully so. And so if we can add this and that helps in some way, we think it'd be a great thing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just mention one more thing? We have a flu immunization drive this weekend. So I just want you all to know it's from 8 to 12 in our stadium parking lot. So the flyer has gone out on social media. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Flu drive, so on Saturday.
Is that community?
Uh-huh.
Y'all need any holiday?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Great job, Valerie.
Yes.
Employee retention incentive and state funding update. Brandon, you're on stage.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. These two items Brandon's going to present, actually, I think he'd like to flip them and kind of give a status update of state funding where we are. Then one thing that we have been doing the last few years is the employee retention. Number one, as a morale opportunity. Number two, to encourage teachers to choose to stay at Southwest into the future. Number three, by doing this, it allows us to really have a really good look at where our budget is after the audit, and what goes into fund balance and what doesn't. And so we think this is that opportunity. We would bring it as an action item in November is when we normally bring it. But we want to make sure to give the information to the board and that you guys have an opportunity to look through it. And so it also, Brandon is going to cover how our teacher compensation ranks in San Antonio. And by doing this, where we rank as a position as well. So.
Thank you, sir. You have 4 documents. I have the actual presentation that I'm going to go through to kind of give you an update on where we are. You know, we spent the whole spring and summer figuring out, you know, how are we going to get a budget and get it passed, and what numbers are we going to be looking at, and what kind of safety nets are we going to have in place to protect us if we fall short of our revenue. Then also I have on here our latest fund balance at the end of the fiscal year. We just closed out our fiscal year, finished our audit, so we have our fund balance update. I have also a comparison over fund balance over time. As you can see, it's very healthy, and we continue to have it as a healthy fund balance, but that's, you know, for a rainy day, and I believe that everybody is on the same page that we kind of are in that zone. And so I'm going to cover some items because we did talk about enrollment briefly, but the biggest part, if you remember, when we go through the budget process, is to determine enrollment and project that. Not only do we get funding based on ADA from those students that come to school every day, but we staff. And so a lot of our expenditures are based on students and the number of students, because we have to hire teachers and we got to kind of guess how many students we're going to have so that we can staff appropriately at our campuses. And so having 470 students not come to school, we still staffed based on those students possibly being here. And so we did take some conservative actions on that. But at the same time, where we have, especially in our pre-K programs, where we have very low numbers of pre-K students, we are facing some difficulties with revenue there because we are going to lose out on that funding. And so we are not able just to move teachers around at this point because we don't have any openings anywhere. And we're definitely not letting them go. And so keep that in mind as I go through this. Now, what is the part that I'm talking about state funding is one thing that, you know, if you remember in the spring, we closed down, where everybody went home, we didn't have to take attendance, and the state said, you're not liable for that. We're still going to pay you, and we're going to take care of you as far as funding. They actually have done that again for us, and it's called the Hold Harmless. It's called Hold Harmless for the 2021 school year. They gave us 6 weeks to figure it out, and that's what they did at the beginning. So they said, you know what, because of the chaos of enrollment and not knowing and projecting what that would be, they gave us a timeline to kind of get it right. They also allowed us to let students stay home, and we had to create an asynchronous plan and turn that in, and so they won't hold us liable against students that are home for online learning. So kind of just touch base on what we're doing and what the state has allowed us to do. First of all, because of remote-only instruction, they gave us a transition period. If you remember, it was 4 weeks, and then we came to the board and asked for an additional 4 weeks so that we could phase in students over time. And that's the first 8 weeks of school. And so we are opening up our schools now to whoever wants to come in, they have the choice to choose because that transition period's over. We no longer have that window that the state allowed us to say, hey, take your time, make it methodical so that you bring in and you can learn. And so Valerie's group that she was talking about, so we can go through all those things that we had to put in place. So now we're actually letting students in at whatever capacity the numbers come in. Every student that chose to come in on Monday was awarded to come into our campuses. And so that first transition period is over now. The other part of this is, you know, during that transition period, we are allowed to use different types of attendance mechanisms, where if you were a student at home, we took attendance based on a remote learner. And so if you're a student face-to-face, obviously you're here, so we were able to track that. Based on that, it's come with some challenges trying to take attendance two different ways. And so taking attendance for a kid that's online in my class versus taking attendance for a kid that's here, you're going to have some human error. You may mess that up. And so the state understands that. And so they have put that hold harmless in play so that we can learn how to take attendance and we can find our students that are missing and all these things that would be, you know, in this pandemic is what, you know, all the things that we're dealing with, especially at the teacher level. And so what they've done is they looked at in 1819, back when in 1819, we had to predict the future. We had to say in 2021, what is our enrollment going to be? And so we had to like look at this and study it. Say we had to look at our trends, how we were growing. And so based on that number that we predicted back in 1819, that's the number the state's going to use to pay us if we don't meet our threshold. So like an example, in a normal year, we have about 12,520 students that at the end of the year, if you take every 6 weeks, that's our average ADA, our average daily attendance. And that's what we get paid on. And so you look at that and then you try to predict every year what that's going to be. If we're growing, that's going to go up a little higher. And so you can budget a little more because you're going to get more revenue. Currently, we didn't know what that number was. And so we're trying to figure out what that is. And so back in 1819, I based that number on being at 12,500 students. And so that's really good because in those first 6 weeks, that's what they're going to pay us if we fall below the 12.5. So let's say our ADA comes in at 12.2, 12.3, they're going to bump us up to 12.5 and pay us on 12.5. And so that's kind of, I just wanted to share that because I'm going to show you on the chart how it really looks so that it's overall what it is the district will receive relief for low enrollment for the first 6 weeks. And now the state's realizing this is a major issue, so they actually gave us another 6 weeks. So we have the first semester, really, the first 6 weeks of school, 6 weeks of school to figure it out. Find our students that are not enrolled in our campuses and fix our issues if we have any attendance issues because the teachers are trying to take attendance in both worlds. The caveat and the rules now for us to get that additional third 6 weeks to be allowable. So right now they gave us the first 6 weeks on the books. They said you have those, figure it out. If we want to have that third 6 weeks, we have to offer face-to-face. We can no longer go back and cap it and say you can only come in at 25% or 30%. So I wanted to share that because right now we are not capping it. Our phase-in plan's over because we need that third 6 weeks to be picked up by the state. And I'll show you why, because our numbers need it and they'll show it. So if you look at this chart, so this first column here, pointer's not working on the TV. But this first column here is the hold harmless level. This is what the state is going to use to pay us. So you can look at total ADA is 12.5. Mainstream ADA, this is special ed, is 798. And CTE, FTEs, this is our CTE funding, 662. So this is what the state said back in 1819 we predicted we would have in the future. I took these aren't real numbers in this column, but I'm saying if we had a normal year, this was where we'd probably fall. At 12,571, mainstream ADA 640, I use that as a reason to show you what happens when this kicks in, and then CTE at 820. So you can look that our ADA is actually better if we use these numbers, and so we would use this number here, 12,571. We wouldn't want to use the hold harmless the state's providing for us.
You're anticipating that, or that's the actual?
This is not that number's not real.
Oh, okay.
But I'm showing you a real scenario. If we didn't have COVID and we were in a normal year,
okay,
that we would use this number because it's better than what they're giving us as far as their hold harmless.
correct.
And then, if you notice here, we are lower within special ed. And so we won't get to use this number because once you kick in the higher number on ADA, you have to use all the numbers that they're providing. And so whatever our number falls in the other allotments, we have to use those. And so we would not be protected in the special ed section. Mm-hmm. And then CTE would use that number if it's higher. So what I'm going to get to is we're 448 students down. And our actual budget was based on 12,521. That's the budget, the number I used for ADA. This is our actual ADA for the first 6 weeks. So if you look at your next chart, this is the hold harmless level, 12.5. This is actually the first 6 weeks, our ADA, based on the numbers that we have right now. We're at 12.1, which if you look at it, I budgeted at 12.52. we're way down. That's almost 400 students. And you're talking about $4 million pretty much. And depending on what other weights they carry, if they're special ed, if they're CTE, if they're bilingual, if they're pre-K, those numbers will be impacted. So right now, we're going to use this number. So the state's hold harmless is the numbers that we're going to use because their numbers are going to be better than what we have right now. And so if you go down the list, you can see how that changes. How this is impacted, though, is we have to use that number, all the numbers that they have in the hold harmless. And so we have to use all these numbers. So this number is better, so we're going to use that number. This number is better, so we get to use it. The problem we face in CTE is this number is lower than what we actually have. And so we'll have to use the number. They're not giving us any wiggle room. So either using all the hold harmless numbers or you're using your numbers. And so I wanted to share that with you because we are protected in some areas, but we maybe see some financial losses in other areas based on how the year plays out. Now this works only for the first 6 weeks. So you're gonna see a number here. We get to use this number all the way across if we want to, but if the second 6 weeks is better, we get to use that one. And then the third 6 weeks will be separated. And so the main thing to this is that we'll have that 12.5 will be our first, second, and third, but come fourth, fifth, and sixth 6 weeks will be our number. And so if that number stays at 12.1, they'll take the average of all those. And so we'll be around 12.3, I think. And so we'll have to manage that. I'm bringing this up here because there's some decisions, you know, when we're going to get into the incentive. And I know back in the budget process, we talked about monitoring our finances and see if we could do it within the budget. And I can stand here right now to tell you just based on the first 6 weeks, which our trend data, our first 6 weeks is always our best. So we're usually starting off really well, strong. And then over time, especially in the spring, our AD actually declines. And so if we just go based on that trend data, you know, I don't know where we're going to lie, but at least the first 6 weeks, based on if we do what we're supposed to as far as opening our schools and offering face-to-face to all students who choose, we'll get to use the state's numbers that they have for us. They're not the best numbers because in a normal year, we'd probably be higher than what they have, but it's good for us now because our numbers are actually really low compared to what those numbers are. So that's the protection we have for this first semester. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Questions on that? I tried to keep it, put in a chart. So
we have to let them know by when.
Well, the state's already going to give us these two. They already created these numbers, and they're going to look at when we turn in our information in their PEEMS submission. They're going to see our numbers, and they're going to automatically revert to the hold harmless number. The third 6 weeks, we actually have to submit a attestation letter to take advantage of it. But we're going to do that because we know that unless things change, those
Now,
numbers.
next year, will we be penalized for getting more for hold harmless?
No.
Okay.
No, that's the, I say that hopefully, I don't know what's going to happen next year because they're going to meet in January and the legislators will tell them what happens then. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But what will hurt us is if we don't rebound back in our enrollment. I mean, that's the part, you know, we don't know now. We have this COVID and now we're down 400 something students. If we get half of them back, that would be great. If we get them all back, that would be spectacular. I think that we just need some time to recover from this over time, especially we have development, so I think we'll be fine.
Brandon, on the CTE part, because we're gonna lose numbers, do you have any idea what, like the dollars, is it millions? Or?
No. It'll be, because a lot of the CTE budget's tied up in staff, so it'll be looking at their budget, and the CTE director already knows that this is, so right now I base it on a number, and what I've told her is we'll monitor through this semester, and then we'll start looking at being real selective on what we can cut out and cut through the budget. So what ends up happening is I take some money away from the budget, which is okay this year a little bit because a lot of the budget went into travel and went into like shows and things that they're probably not going to.
Okay.
And
so we're gonna save
so we can take some away like professional development for teachers that are traveling out of town.
Yeah.
So there's some savings where we can take some money away there.
Right.
But we will not definitely take a lot of it because they still got to buy a lot of equipment and things that.
But we should be able to mitigate the difference.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And so hopefully that, but I will caution that we only have this protection in the first 6 weeks. So we have a whole nother semester that we have to really monitor that could hurt us in the end. So I don't want to say we'll have a deficit budget at the end of the year. We'll manage, but remember 85% of our budget's in salary and staff. And so There's no way really we could cut budgets in the middle of the year that are operational, but utility is going to be the same, insurance, as long as we stay open. So
I'll also let you know that there are state associations, with TASI, TASBs, with TAC, Bear County Education Coalition, which we're part of, who are promoting the idea of taking hold harmless further and applying it hopefully throughout the year, or at least the 4 to 6 weeks. So we don't know if that's going to come to fruition. If it does, it's definitely a help with the districts. Everyone's in the same position.
Yes, sir.
So this decline, is that kids who just are not going to school, or they're going to some other school, or you don't know? And how are the other school districts faring with regard to this?
I think that's a question. I think we're all facing the same. Some students are choosing maybe homeschool. Some, like, especially in our lower grade levels, our pre-K, they're just staying home. So
pre-K is down about 250.
Yeah, 250 students that we get funding in pre-K, and then we only get half-day funding from them. So it's not as impactful as somebody that's like a second or third grader. But I think a lot of our pre-K where we're missing 470, half of those are pre-K kids. But we still have all the staff members that we budgeted for and we're paying across the district in different areas. I mean, it's hard to say because this same question as Dr. V talked about is all the other districts are asking the same question: where are the kids at?
Yeah.
Where are they going? And so
when they're that little, it's hard. I'm helping my daughter with remote learn with my grandbaby. She's a first grader, and it's very labor intense for the parent, for the adult.
Yeah.
So if you got a pre-K baby, the remote learning is really,
and
I can't imagine that pre-K and kinder.
And Dr. Brown, I'm not saying it's an issue, but because they gave us this hold harmless, we're working through our system to make sure we don't have data integrity too. So we're trying to figure out how teachers are taking attendance and doing it right in this both worlds, right? Trying to make sure, because a kid at home, they just have to show engagement and they get marked absent. Well, if the teacher doesn't check in, and I'm not saying they're doing that, but they have to monitor it. So we have to get that right. And they gave us time to figure that out. And so hopefully a lot of that, it would be great if it's a lot of human error and we could figure it out and fix it, and then our numbers will be better. I'm not sure if that's like that big a deal, but I guess we'll see as we keep looking at it.
And we found some errors just in the frontline system itself. And as we figure those out, we fix them, and then that changes that picture and things like that. I think a critical issue to understand is that there are 3 different ways that TEA is defined as a kid for being present, right? Which gives us a huge degree of flexibility. So interestingly enough, I think that we have probably engagement compared to actual student performance that's not kind of lining up right now. So because of the flexibility that TEA gave us, so a kid can log in and check in and they're there, right? Up till 12 p.m. midnight. So teachers going back and correcting that and things like that's taking us some time to navigate. But I think overall, they're doing a really, really good job with it, considering how flexible it is. So I just wanted y'all to have that information.
And so that article is that this is a national trend top center to the article.
Great.
And so I wanted to bring y'all some options. First, I wanted to show you kind of where we rank across the board at different levels of our pay scale. We've always been in the, for transparency purposes, we've always been in the top 2 at our first year teacher. But you can kind of look at the bottom. If you look at the very bottom of the teacher plan comparison, it'll show you by year. 0 year, we're number 2. 5 year, we're number 4. 10-year teacher, we're number 6. 15, we're number 3. 22. And so you can kind of see where we kind of lie across the city with our cohort, the competition, the other districts that we may lose teachers to. And so we fare pretty well in most areas. We have some things and work to do in certain areas of that skill, like the 10-year. We could do probably a better job and look at that. And so that's something that we could do later on. But adding the incentive, whatever we choose, if we want to choose an incentive, I wanted to give you all options and to show you where that would put us on the scale. And so really what we do with the incentive, it's a retention incentive. And so it's basically to retain the employee. And so the rules would be they would have to be a full-time employee based on TRS regulations, same thing we did last year. All this we got from our lawyers to make sure it's actually not a gift of public funds. Must have been employed by October 31st of this school year, and need to be remained employed all the way to the end of their contract, wherever their contract ends. And so those are the guidelines, and we make them fill out a form that they do online to make sure that they accept these. And then getting into the incentive, last year we did a $750 incentive to every employee, which cost us about 1.5. We have a couple more employees this year, not a whole lot. So I'm anticipating that to be about 1.6 if we did the 750. 1,000 would be 2.1 million. And then 500 would be about 1.1. And so I wanted to share with y'all options, and we don't have to decide today, but just so that you can think about it. But I did want to share that this would be a fund balance item because just going the first part of the presentation is about our budget. I don't think this budget could sustain something like this. And for transparency, is the budget at the end of the school year, we may be talking about, looking at fund balance to make sure that we meet our expectations on the expenditure side. But it's hard to predict at this point until we get into the spring and look at our ADA.
Are all the last increases last year?
That was the increases based on House Bill 3.
Nobody gave a raise this year.
Nobody gave a raise this year, no sir. Not in the Bexar County cohorts.
Justin already gave their incentive.
Yes.
They gave, I think, $1,000.
Did they?
For
Yeah.
employees. And then
Correct.
they also gave them a $50 gift card.
Did they? And I don't know how they give gift card unless they got them donated. We're not allowed to give gift cards.
I think they came from the foundation.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
okay.
gave from the foundation.
Okay.
The teachers foundation.
Okay, yeah,
But, I mean, it was nice that they did it at the beginning with all of the, their,
correct.
it was a nice touch to do it. Morale boost to them, morale.
And so really, I leave y'all with the three options, and then, if we want to move forward, we'll, maybe at the brown bag, we can discuss it again, and y'all can come up with what we want to do, and then we'll make it an action item at the November board meeting. I just wanted to give you the options, kind of let you know where we would lie as far as what it would cost to fund balance. And then as a collective group, make a decision and bring a recommendation.
I believe Brayden and I thought that the 750 would put us within the $200 variance, ranked number 1, which is north side right now. We would be ranked number 2 by $200. So just to think about, and we'll bring it up again, and present this item to the board of round back session in the future.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, item 7 we'll come back to after closed session. Item 8, I don't see anything in the item in human resources. Is that correct, Dr.?
Correct.
So then item 9, business finance, consider approval of purchase of 72 school buses. Brayden, is that you?
It's us. Yes. At the brown bag, we brought to y'all an update of where we are on our transportation department and the buses. And so tonight we have an action item to purchase 18 buses. 10 of them would be from the reimbursement program that we're a part of with the state. We would put forth fund balance to buy these at this point, and then we would get reimbursed up to 68%, which really would be only a cost to us about $380,000 for 10 buses, which is tremendous and awesome. And then the other 8 buses are part of the bond program that we've budgeted over the years to replenish our buses. And so tonight, we're asking the board to approve the purchase of $1.8 million, a little over that, for the purchase of 18 buses from Thomas Built Buses. Our transportation department, if you look at it, the Thomas Built buses are a little bit more expensive than the first Rush bus, but they feel like the efficiency and the way they're built and the parts and all the maintenance part of the buses are our best value over time. It may not show it in the actual price of the bus, but over time, these buses seem to last longer and be built better. And so that's their recommendation.
Second. I really like the shield and the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have a motion and a second on the recommendation from staff of buying 17 passenger buses from Thomas Built, a total of $1.8 million. Discussion.
I was just gonna say, I noticed one, I really noticed one like yesterday morning, and they looked really nice with the shield, and then that wraparound on the bottom, it looked very impressive going by, and you immediately identified it as, you know, one of your buses. It's awesome, it looked good.
Brandon, did we receive any reimbursements yet on this?
We actually turned in all the paperwork, so I should be getting about 746,000 back here in the next couple of weeks. So that'll go back right back into the fund balance, which would be used to do this. It's really almost putting the money back to offset the next cost, which is great.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, we've got now consider approval of contract with grease trap pumping, jetting, inspection, and repair service.
Yes, we had to release an RFP every year. We have to, for at least 4 times, pump out the grease traps at every campus for our child nutrition cafeteria. And at the same time, we have to get them inspected per code and turn that in. And then if there's any issues with any of the grease traps, we have to get them repaired. And so we did listen an RFP. We only had one vendor actually submit. And so the estimated cost for that is about $76,000. That's including the pumping out 4 times during the year at 18 of our campuses that have the cafeterias, and then an inspection that's required. They have to inspect it at certain times. And then if there's anything that pops up that we need to get fixed, this company will fix it for us. And so it's really for a maintenance and inspection. And we've been doing this for a long time, and we've had a couple of vendors always bid on it. And unfortunately this year we only had one, but we need to pump out the grease. So we got to move forward. So the recommendation is to approve the Southwaste disposal for a cost of about $77 million or $77,000. Sorry, $77 million. Apologize.
I'm a second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. C, consider approval of the district financial audit.
Yes, sir. The state of Texas, the federal government, and TEA requires us to have a annual independent audit performed. And tonight we're here I'm here to introduce Derek Walker from Coleman, Horton and Company, who conducted the audit, and he's going to give you the findings and talk about our audit. And so, Derek, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Perfect.
The floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Members of the board, Dr. Burstuff, thank y'all for having me tonight. Here to present your financial audit for the year ending August 31st, 2020. COVID's affected us just like anyone else. What was really new this year is that we virtually did y'all's audit all off-site. We did have one team member that did come and had to do some audit work. But other than that, we were able to do it all off-site. And I wanted to thank Brandon and Jennifer for their time and effort in that. It's just staying safe and trying to prevent all this. So if we can do our part, we definitely wanted to do that. I would hate to think that one of our staff members had COVID and infected, or got one of your accounting departments sick, and then your whole payroll department's out, and then you have a bunch of mad employees. So other than that, I'm going to keep this. I know it's getting late, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet. If you have any questions, please interrupt me at any time, and we'll get started. The only thing, and I say this every year, the only thing in this audit report that's ours is our opinion letters. The financial statement numbers, the representation of the financial statements are your districts. So briefly, our 3 opinion letters, I'm going to go over them briefly instead of going over them line by line. The first is our opinion letter on your financial statements. And what that opinion does is state whether your books are fairly stated. The second opinion letter that we have is if a district receives federal funds, it's required to have an audit on its internal controls, compliance, and other matters. And then if a district receives over $750,000 federal funds. It's required to have an audit on its major funds, major federal programs. In all three cases, they were all unqualified or unmodified opinions, also known as a clean or unqualified or a clean opinion. I'm sorry. This is a highest level of assurance that an auditor can give on a set of financial statements. So I just want to congratulate the district once again for that achievement. Other than that, I'd like to go over some fund balance numbers. So skipping in, I don't know if y'all have your hard copy or if y'all have it in electronic form.
They had the hard copy, Derek.
The hard copy, perfect. So if you'll turn to page 22 and 23, Brandon, I saw your little spreadsheet, so I don't want to steal your thunder.
Go ahead.
No, I'll let you go over the what makes up the fund balances. Page 22 and 23, this in essence is the district's income statement for the year. What this does, it line items a couple of your funds individually, and then it also gives an aggregate or a total of all your funds. So in governmental entities, your general fund, which is your main operating account, this is always a major fund. This is normally the principal fund that the district will operate out of. I'm not going to go over. So if you go over like your general fund, which is in that first column, you can see your total revenues about 4 lines down, ended at 143 million. Go on down to your next underlined item, total expenses was 135 million. This resulted in an increase in fund balance of roughly $8 million for the district this year, leaving the district with an ending fund balance of 78.9 million. Now that's only in your general fund. Debt service, which was also a major fund, total revenues were 19.8 million. You come down, your total expenditures was 19 million, leaving an increase in fund balance of 802,000, leaving the district an ending fund balance in debt service at 2.6 million. Capital projects had revenues of 808,000. This is mainly investment earnings from the bond proceeds that have not been spent. Go on down in capital improvements. Your total expenditures during the year was 16.4, leaving a change in fund balance of 15.5, a decrease. Ending capital projects fund balance was 59.9 million. Bear in mind, I have had this conversation in the past, and if y'all remember, when you issue bonds, your fund, say if you issue $1 million or $100,000 in bonds, your fund balance goes up $100,000 or 100 million. It should lose 100 million. And then when you spend those funds, like we do in the capital projects fund, because that's what those funds are for, your fund balance will go down as you spend those funds. So we can expect, a decrease in your capital projects. If you go over to your other funds, which is on page 23, your other funds includes your food service fund, your child and nutrition, Title I, Idea B. They all get lumped in here. So total revenues were 23.2 million. Total expenses, 23.3, leaving a negative change in fund balance of 169,000, leaving those other funds with a $2.6 million fund balance. So overall for the district, which is that last column, the net change in fund balance was a decrease of 6.9 million, leaving the district an ending fund balance of $144 million. Is there any questions on those? Like I said, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. That's usually how we get hired back every year. Last but not least, Brandon, I saw his spreadsheet that he's going to go over. So he's going to cover a couple of these items that I was going to go over, but I'll let him do that. Last but not least, I want to go over your capital. Well, two other things. Sorry. So if you'll turn to page 38. These are the capital assets of the district. The district considers an asset a capital asset if it is cost over $5,000. At the end of the year, the NODEP capital asset activity, you can see the different categories. You have your land, building, equipment. If you get down 5 to the underlying aspect of it, total capital assets of the district as of August 31st was $483 million. We charge depreciation on those assets over their useful life. That depreciation amounted to $189,000, which decreases the net capital assets you have. So net capital asset of the district at the end of the period was $293 million. If you'll flip the page to 39, briefly go over this schedule. This is just the bonds payable of the district. The total amount due is in that second to last column. Total debt due of the district is $285 million. Of that $285 million, $8.9 million or $8,935 million will be due in the upcoming year. Okay, so last schedule. If you'll please turn to page 56. This is the budget comparison schedule. Heard a lot of discussion about budget and, you know, the employee retention bonus and stuff like that. But this is how your actual budget came out during the 1920 fiscal year. We have 4 columns here. The first column is your original budget. This is normally what's approved before the end of the year for the new year. The final column is the budget amendments you make during the year. And then finally, we have your actual amounts. The fourth column is the variance between what's the actual amounts less what the final budgeted amounts were. As you can see, total revenues were $21,719. I'm looking at that last column about 4 lines down. Less, so total revenues were $21,719 less than what was expected. If you come down to your total expenditures were $17,294 less than what was expected. There were no budget over expenditures, no compliance items, no other matters that were required to report. Overall, the audit was very clean. Staff is great to work with at your district. We always enjoy coming over there and working with y'all. And do y'all have any questions? I know this is very brief, but my stomach's growling. I think it's about 8 o'clock. So if y'all don't have any questions.
No, you've given us a very comprehensive report that we can go through and have to bring this back up in the future.
Here are no questions. Thank you. I'm going to look for motion at this time that we approve the district financial audit as presented.
I move. Second.
There was a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you. Before we go into closed session, do you have anything you need to say, Lord?
We may have some folks on virtually. Just a reminder, the Fire and Armor, 3rd Annual Fire Armor Bowl is day after tomorrow, 7 p.m. Alamo Dome, and just a reminder of what our Director of Health Services announced. Saturday, October 24th is coming Saturday in Dragon Stadium parking lot, 8 a.m. to noon. There'll be a drive-through flu vaccine opportunity. And so just want to make sure you get those reminders. That's it, sir.
Thank you. Okay, then pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074 on personnel, in accordance with Texas Government Code Section 551.072 on real property. We will now go into closed session at 7:59. Okay, come back at your meeting at 9:30 p.m. Good, Roger? Okay, and now we can take appropriate action on discussions of closed session pursuant to personnel and property.
I move we approve the superintendent's recommendation first.
Second.
You have a second? Any discussion? Can't be no discussion, we're in open session now. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, it's passed.
That is all we have, sir, and I want to thank you for your time.
Yes, I want to thank fellow board members for sticking it out through 2020 today. I believe me, the meeting's still going on. So everybody have a good night. Okay. See you at 9:21.